My name is Yemane. I am married. I'm a wife, a mother of 3 adorable children, one son and 2 daughters. My son is in Form 1, he's in the Alliance High School, and my daughter is in grade 4 and PP1 currently. So these children are more like the wind beneath my, my wings, and they make every day worth living. They're just a blessing. My husband is the most amazing human being. He's been very supportive throughout. He's a spiritual person. He's my prayer partner. He's my best friend. From the year 2001 to 2012, and from then on I have been an entrepreneur. I went into the world of business and did several businesses. I could call myself a person who's self-taught in the business world, up to this point when I started GreenCover in 2015. My last employer was Java House. I left in 2012. Being in marketing, I was exposed to large markets and interactions with people. And at that point, I felt if I could do this for a big company, I can do it for myself and grow, because I could see the impact in the community, where you could see people really liking the products and skills. So for me, it just guided the wisdom that now I've been here far too long. I need to do something to grow myself. And that's when I ventured into entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, especially in Nairobi, is actually a journey. It's a school. It's a place you have to learn how to diversify very fast and change very fast. As they say, Nairobi ni shamba la mawe. Initially, when I left employment, I went into Mtumba business. I ran the Mtumba business for 5 years. It was not easy, because the Mtumba business is very dynamic. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't, but it's very profitable. I dealt in Mtumba for men. I actually had a shop in town. I had 2 stalls in town for Mtumba clothes for men. And I used to sell the shirts, the trousers, the full gear, suits, blazers, sweaters, everything, shoes. I used to do bills of that. And why men is because men's clothes pay better See, our women's clothes in Mtumba business are cheaper. So you need like 5 women to buy shoes to make money that is equal to 1 shirt. So I used to feel that selling men's clothes, and men are specific, you know. Ladies, we want a full wardrobe. A man just needs 5 shirts. But you'll sell 5 shirts and make enough, like selling 100 tops. I also went into supplies and fruits and vegetables. So I've been in the Gikomba, the Marikiti, you know, that scene. And I went into supplies of fruits and vegetables. I opened a butchery. I have gone through the paces of running around in town and trying to sell. I also went into business of selling handbags, you know, imported handbags, just so that you can balance, you know. I used to go to Dar es Salaam and Kampala to bring handbags and sandals, and that time it was the thing to do. I brought in vitenges for ladies, and it was quite interesting at the time to do that business. Before, you know, that time it was the thing to do. So for me, I took everything I learned from all these businesses as a lesson, so that I was able to change very fast, because you go with the demand. I think for me, it was trying to find that one thing that would work, that would really change my economics. And I had to change very fast. Oh, I didn't tell you, I also dealt in selling livestock. As I was in there with the butchery, you know, running the butchery and supplying meat, and I really interacted with the people who bring in livestock, and I went out there and I got some few orders for livestock, live cows and goats, and I went into it. It's not easy, but there are lessons I picked from doing that business that I will never learn in any school. I'm also a transporter, all right? I run Silver End Enterprises, which is a logistics and transport company, and we do transport across the country. You have to be consistent. You have to be resilient. You have to be out there. You have to know what you want. You have to interact with people. The power of working with people is untold. You cannot do anything alone. You need people. And for the love of travel, it allowed me to also enjoy visiting many areas in the country in search of livestock. And it's just amazing how the people I met at that time really made me learn that, you know, when you're buying livestock, it's not cheap. You have to be disciplined with your money. You have to be disciplined in knowing what you want exactly. And then the risks involved. Sometimes you would go and buy this fat-looking cow and you're like, yeah, I got it. And then you come and on the weighing scale, it weighs close to nothing. And it would be, you know, like, okay, you don't judge a book by its cover. You don't judge a cow by the size. It could be so big, but weigh very little. to plant trees in these parcels of land, about 20 acres of land, and I went all out. I planted trees, and it was so beautiful to see from such a small seedling, it would grow. And right now they're like 20 feet up in the air. And I went on doing that. So for every parcel of land I invested in, I made sure I planted trees. Any opportunity to plant trees with the neighbors and the homestead. As we are planting trees, sometimes you learn lessons. These trees, sometimes you don't get the right species. So the mortality rate is real, and sometimes they just don't do well. So on and on in search of good seedlings, and then having to about working with people, making friends, making lasting relationships. I'm passionate about doing what feels right, all right? And I feel that aligns because I work with people. I am a Christian, and I love the fact that it allows me to be myself, to be a person who is working in the community, especially like right now running GreenCover. I work with the community all the time, every day. And it's beautiful working with women and youth and just people who are looking for a livelihood and feeling that I am giving back is really something that gives me joy. I interact with these people. I'm in the nursery 3 days a week. So that allows me to just feel free. And being out there somehow just heals me and feels beautiful. So this aligns very well with my purpose. Some of the challenges in especially running a business like this that entails working with the environment is the lack of patience, sometimes the wrong species. In Kenya, we have a lot of land. And if you recall, we've been planting trees since the days of, in primary school, those days, And when you look back now, you don't even see those trees anymore, or you can't pinpoint, and we still haven't achieved that, cover that we need. Challenges of telling people and educating people that it's not just about planting. You can plant 1,000, but in a year's time, how many will you have? Those are some of the challenges, lack of patience, lack of nurturing, and lack of knowledge in that area. It's really a big challenge because now as GreenCover we are embarking on educating the community and people we interact with that it's not just about putting that seedling in the ground. A tree seedling is like a baby. You can't just leave that baby needs to feed, and then you have to wait. It has teething problems, it has all these challenges until it can stand and be independent. That's a tree. For me, the biggest challenge is also the lack of serious support from stakeholders, because we have land. We are talking about planting trees every day. However, we have not gotten to the space where we understand there is poverty at the grassroots level, at the community level. You want to plant trees, but as we continue mitigating the challenges of just regreening this country, I feel that there's a space that there's a gap that needs to be Most important thing. Nobody prepares you for the entrepreneurial world. Nobody prepares you for, the storms of life. So I wish somebody, before I started this, would tell me, you know what, as you see all these big business people, they go through so much and it's not all out for you to see. So that's something I'd wish to even tell everybody, that there needs to be a balance, a place where you find yourself holding on.